So, hello, YouTube. We are here to talk today about when histories cross platforms. So, I will start presenting myself. I'm Yasmin. I'm 19 years old. I live at São Paulo, capital, with my parents and my cat too. I'm here talk to practice my English and Spanish too, and I'm here to be the host to this conversation. And Vanessa, could you introduce yourself for us, please?
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Vanessa. I'm from Sorocaba, but I'm native from São Paulo. I'm married. I have two pets. The first of their day is Pipoca and Pada, and I created a company 2 years ago about financial education. So now I would like to practice my English because I need to improve my language for my students. I teach about financial education and cybersecurity and Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, all things about investments I did. And before that, I worked maybe 7 years with cybersecurity and technology area. So now I just have my company. I'm working home office. And my free time, I like go to the parks, visit um, trails and waterfalls. I like to go there with my dogs too, and watch some movies with my husband. So yes, is that.
Thank you. I love your dog's names.
Our some.
I love it. So, Juliana, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Of course. My name is Juliano. I am 21 years old. I study science and technology, and I live in São Bernardo do Campo. I like so much IT area and I wanna be developing system. So I am studying about developing. One of the language that I like to code is C sharp. And I want English because I want to use the English in a future job, and I want English to understand the movies, series, videos in English. So I think that's all about me.
So nice. C sharp is a good language.
Yes.
Thank you. And for you, Melanie, could you introduce yourself for us?
Good afternoon. I am Milene. I am 34 years old. I am a teacher, physics teacher. I live in Campinas with my boyfriend. We don't have pets because we can't take care of pets. Um, I am studying English to travel. I hope travel more in the future. And I think speaking English is good when you travel abroad. Um, I like to read, but most of the time when I am reading a book, I am get addicted on the book. So I can read during the week, for example. I try to start on weekend or in my vacation, but now I am reading a book in English. So in English, I am slow, so it's easy. I can read short, a few pages for per day, so it's good, but it's a little bit difficult, but it's okay because before I read only English that books that I read in Portuguese, but now I am changed, so it's a new book for me, but it's a good experience.
Oh, nice. What's the name of this book that you're reading?
The Housemaid.
Oh, I'm reading the second now. Oh, it's
Ah,
so nice. I love it, the first.
I am very curious about the history, but I can read fast, so it's good because I can read in a few pages per day and try practice the reading in English.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Juliano, how do you feel when a story that you like it is adapted into a different format?
Um, I think I feel very excited because it's a different way to know the same stories. Because, for example, I like so much to read mangas. So when I can see the same stories, but in anime, for me, it's a different way to see the same content, but in different way. So I can see the action from of the different way, um, all about the history, do you know? Or when I go see a novel and after gonna see a manga, I can see the face of from the characters, things like that. So I think I feel very excited because it's a different way to see the same content, to see the same history, you know. So I think it's very good.
So nice. About me, I think my feeling about that is different to the format that is being adapted because I usually like to read books and I get frustrated if I read a book and after this is made a adaptation on theater and I will go to there and the movie is completely different about the book because when I read a book I like to imagine the things in my way and I like to have this freedom to imagine the characters and the reactions in the way that I like to imagine. And I think a movie is like to put a story in a closed box because it's like a director perspective is different to a reader perspective so many times because everyone has a different way to imagine the thing. So but when I see a history like if I play some game and I see that was transformed into a movie or a series, I like it. Like this occur with The Last of Us. I play the game and I really love that have this adaptation. And to be honest, I never finished it because wasn't so good like the game. I prefer the game, so I never finish it. But when the history is about other formats than books, like games or even comics, I like to watch it. And for you, Vanessa, how do you feel when a story that you like is adapted into a different format?
For me, sometimes it's okay because, for example, I don't know when I say this name in English, but I love all the books about the Douglas Adams, O Guia do Mochileiro das Galáxias, because I love sci-fi movies and I prefer this thing. So for me, the book it's awesome, but when I watched the movie, it's very different for me. It's so bored, and I don't like the movie like I say about the books. So sometimes when the adaptation is not good for the format, maybe will be bored to a lot of people that will watch this movie. For me, it's different. Yeah, every story has a unique story, so sometimes it will be good, sometimes not.
Yeah, I think the uh only oh my God. The only time that I heard about a book that was transformed, the sci-fi book that was transformed in movie, and it was good was Dune. and that was the unique adaptation that people talked a lot of good things about it. The other
Yes.
sci-fi books adapted, people um, almost all of the times didn't like so much because in our minds it's so, so fancy, so beautiful, and sometimes the movie cannot pass this same image, the same, because in our mind it's big, is perfect, and in the movie sometimes the director are doing more for money and doing another perspective than the readers. So I think have this different perspective. So thank you.
Yes.
And about you, Milene, what do you think about this
Um,
question?
I totally agree with you. But my first feeling is excited because for me it's like when I can watch the characters that I imagine, but most of the time I feel disappointed because like you said, it's different because I had a different perspective than the person who creates the movie or show. Um, Nowadays, most of the time, I don't like the adaptation. Most of the time, I don't like. But I can understand is a different of kind of art. So they need do some adaptation for the 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 audience. Um, Maybe I try to understand, but when I like too much of the book, for example, I don't watch the film. Only if I read the reviews and they are good. So in this case, I can watch, but now I don't watch the adaptation if the if I like the book, for example.
Thank you. So, Milene, could you read the next question for us and answer this, please?
Yes. Do you prefer stories that are adapted into movies, TV shows, or video games? Why? Um, I prefer shows because we have more time. So in a book, they have a lot of maybe they have a lot of pages, so the history is bigger than in a movie, for example. So I prefer shows. Video games, no, because I don't like to play games. And I think the best way to adopt a book, like a series book, is a show because they have more time to tell the history. So for me, is perfect when a book is adopted in a good show, a good TV show. But in my last experience, it's not good. Adopt, ad, eu não sei se eu acho que eu tô falando adoção. Para mim não foi uma boa adaptação. I don't know. Eu acho que eu falei adoção. But it's it.
I agree with you. When a good adaptation is made, is really, really good because I remember recently I go to the theater watch It Ends With Us. Was a story that was written by Colleen Hoover, and I already read another books of her and I like it. I never read this specific book, but I go to the theater to watch it because the ticket to watch the movie was in a cheaper theater, was like 10 reais. So I go there and watch it. And when I get out from the room, I could hear one girl that was reading read the book, and she said, uh, I I'd prefer to choose Deadpool. It's better to watch the Deadpool that this movie. I'm like tô arrependida disso. And she read the book, and I was like, oh my God. Uh, it's so bad when you adapt it only for money because you start to lose the fan base sometimes because if you adapt in a TV show and have uh, time enough to adapt everything that is necessary, is best to only did a bad movie because if you do a bad movie, the fan base will not watch any posterior movie. So it's better you really invest on quality of it. So I totally agree with you. And Vanessa, what about you? Do you prefer stories that are adapted into movies, TV shows, or video games, and why?
For me, it's better in movies or series, but depend a kind of book that real adapted. For example, I love the books about, from Stephen King because it's very good. The result for movies, for example, Pennywise, it's very scary movie, and I love the atmospheric from this movie. For example, I don't know when I say, but the name of the movie is A Espera de um Milagre e o Iluminado. For me, it's amazing adaptation, and sometimes in movies will work. But like Milena say about the time and more extended the series can be more adapted and more information can be put on this series. For example,
So nice. I saw some weeks before that there's gonna be a series about E.T. So I like it so much. I think the series will be around I think it's Denver city. That is the city that passed in E.T. So I think the series will be more voted to it. So it's a really adaptation too.
nice. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I think I will watch it because I like these movies when I watch it. Thank you. And Juliano, do you prefer stories that are adapted into movies, TV shows, or video games, and why?
And usually I don't read books, so it's hard. When I watch a movie, I just found out this is based on a book after that I did watch this movie. And about games, I just play games about FPS. So, but I gonna change a little bit. Read so much books, no, not books, but comics. Like mangas. So I prefer when this kind of content is adapted into anime because it's looks like manga. The story is almost like the same, but when the people do the movie, a lot of movies about mangas, it's so bad. We have Dragon Ball, um I think Death Note too. So most of movies about mangas, comics in general, it's so bad. So I prefer when the kind of content is adapted into mangas because animes because almost always is better. Of course, they do a little change because it's necessary sometimes, but I like. But the movie almost ever it's so bad because they change a lot.
Yeah, and it's like they made more for the money and than everything, and so many times the result is really bad, like you said, with Death Note. I never read the manga of Death Note, but I already watched the anime for 2 times, so I like it. Is I think is a good anime. Even if you didn't like animes, and when I saw some parts of movie, I didn't watch it completely, but I already watched some parts of the live action, and I was, oh my God, Netflix, why did you did it? Because it's so ugly, so bad, and it is. It's like a horror movie for the people that liked the anime because it's a bad adaptation. And I didn't met one person in my life that like it because this adaptation is really bad. So I agree with you. Sometimes the movie's adaptation is bad. So Juliana, could you read the next question for us and answer too, please?
Of course. What is your favorite stories that has been adapted into different media? Oh, I think I can just think about one now because it's hard think about it, but maybe one anime, not anime, but the original content is a manga, is Vinland Saga. I like so much Vinland Saga because it's our story about Vikings developing, so I like so much, and they did anime. So for me, it's a good. The anime is so similar from the manga. So in my case, I saw first the anime, and after I went to see the manga. But I can see the both is so similar, maybe anime it's better because the scene actions is so good. I think it's better than anime. It's so similar. I think they don't change almost nothing, so it's so similar. So I think it's about mangas in general. It's one of the best adaptation that I already see.
So nice, thank you. And for you, Melanie, what's your favorite story that has been adapted?
For me, was Game of Thrones, uh, the first seasons. I really like of the series. They have some different from book, obvious, but it's necessary because the history is very long. So, but for me, it was a good adaptation. So I'm I enjoy the TV show like the book.
So nice, thank you. I need to watch it because everyone tells that the beginning of the series is really good. So I
Yes,
wanna
yes.
watch
I
it.
I think most of this series is good. For me, maybe the the end of the last season is the worst part, but for me, most of the series is good, and I like because I I forget about the end, and I consider only the rest of the history without the end.
So nice. And for you, Vanessa?
Um, for me, I ever liked Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I don't know what is the first, for example, the movie or the game, but I started these things like Resident Evil and Silent Hill by the game, And when I watch these movies, I'm feel so exciting, and I love it when I watch. So and series too, like Resident Evil is a series. So for me, I prefer Resident Evil and Silent Hill. For me, it's a very good result in the series and movies too.
Nice, thank you. As for me, I think my favorite story that has been adapted was Dune. I never read the books, but is the movie is really, really beautiful. The second movie is one of my favorites movie. So I really like it. I think it's really beautiful, and I love the history too. And action, mainly comparing with the old adaptation. I don't know if you already seen the old adaptation of Dune. I just saw some scenes, and this is really strange because at the time that the first adaptation of Dune was did in the past, there isn't so much technology, so was difficult because the book show a lot of fancy and big and things. So the technology of that time wasn't prepared to adapt it. But the recent adaptation for me was really, really good. And the second movie of the recently adaptation is my favorite adaptation, I think. So, Vanessa, could you read one for us? You can choose anyone that you like it or question of these two, please.
Yasmin, your audio is not so. I can't hear your audio. It's not so good for me. Can you repeat again, please?
Sure. I asked to you if you can choose some question or if you wanna made a different question too, please.
Okay. Um, yes, I will choose the number. Um, the last, last question. How do soundtracks or music in movies and games enhance a story? Um, for me, Vikings have a great soundtrack in all the series. Um, I forgot when I say that in English, but the name of the series is Uma Odisseia no Espaço, do Carl Sagan, and it's amazing orchestra in the series and makes the series will be more big because like said about the universe galaxies and started the earth and all things that I will know right now. So for me it's a amazing soundtrack for the series and Vikings too.
So nice. And for you, Melanie, about the last question.
This is a hard question for me because I am very bad with music. I most of the time I don't listen music. I like music, but I don't listen. So, but I think it's very important when I watch something, they need soundtracks. I think it's something to add to the the kind of art, like a TV show or a series or a game. I don't know if in game they have music soundtrack. Do you know? They have to. I don't know
I think
because
almost all of them have, but I don't know if all of them have, but a big part have.
uh, I think it's important because maybe music could cause some feelings too. So I think it's important. but I'm not the person who search about the soundtracks and listen again the musics. But I like when the show or film or move has a good soundtrack, but I'm not search after about the musics.
So nice, thank you. And for you, Juliana, you said you like to watch animes. I don't know if are all of animes are a big part that have soundtrack. How do you think about this question?
Oh, I think it's so good. Soundtrack is so good, so important because you can feel a connection, if the movie, anime, or game. For example, about the movies, I can name you one now. It's Interstellar Hans Zimmer. The soundtrack is so good for me. I like so much, and I like so much instrumental songs. So I can sometimes I put in the YouTube instrumental songs about movies and begin listen. So I like so much. And in games, I think it's the same thing. You can feel a connection, better immersion. Um for example, a game that I never play, but I like so much the soundtrack is Katana Zero. There has a soundtrack called Blue Room. I like so much the soundtrack. In anime, I like so much too. I think it's important, but I think the anime it's more uh, it's I can tell. I think in anime the soundtrack is in the end, in the opening. I think when I am watching the anime, doesn't have a lot of soundtracks where I can feel a real connection. Uh, of course, some kinds of anime has like Bleach has a good soundtracks, but I think I can remember a lot of animes. I just can remember opening and the end. So Tokyo Ghoul has a good opening. Um, Sword Art Online has a good opening. Things like that.
It is funny you talk about this because my boyfriend told me about the music in the end of the episode in anime because my boyfriend like and now he is addicted on anime. I don't know why. And he told me today he listened the music from anime maybe 6 times at the gym, and I asked for him why you can listen many times in Japanese, and he told me the music starts in the end of the episode to finish, and it's different for me. And he told me the music get him, and I said why, because it's in Japanese, you can't understand. So why you feel something, listen music in Japanese. But I think it's about the whole story.
I understand him. It's so good the music about animes, the end. Sometimes I in the gym and I watch and listen music about animes too. It's so good. I understand him.
Really? I will tell for him about this.
So nice for me. I think these musics at openings and endings of animes and to TV shows makes a difference about the mark that you have in your mind, because sometimes the series have a song that is so specific that you can remember about all of the context and make you feel the same emotions that you feel at some parts of the TV shows. For example, La Casa de Papel. I never finished it, but the opening music is so connected with the series, the feeling, and it's amazing how a music made you feeling the mark of the series. So I agree with you, and I think soundtrack that have in specific scenes are so good too, because sometimes you are watching a sad movie and there are always a scene that the characters are saying nothing, and that's time that you have to cry because the history is sad. And sometimes the only thing that make you cry with this context is the soundtrack, because the actors are saying nothing. You are already sad with this movie, and the soundtrack is like the only thing that is necessary to make you cry. So sometimes make you really feel the connection with the history, and makes a lot of difference. So I totally agree with you guys. Um, so Mileni, could you choose another question for us, please?
Nine. How important is it for adaptation to stay true to the original story? Um, for me, it's important for the fans. I don't know, fans is fans. Fun. I don't know. But so I think if you want to adaptation for people who likes the history, you should follow the original story. But sometimes they need they need more audience, so they have changed the history. But for me, if I like the history, I prefer the original story. Um, Recently, I watched the Bridgerton series, and I read the books, and I didn't like of adaptation, but the people who didn't read the books, they liked the Bridgerton, because for me it's totally different, and I I I didn't enjoy the changes, but I understand sometimes they need to change for another public, but for me is bad, because when I know about the adaptation, I hope to see the characters that I imagine, but I know it's impossible because it's my imagination. Um, but sometimes I have a good experience, like Game of Thrones, for example. For me, it was a good experience about the adaptation to TV show.
Oh, nice, thank you. I agree with you. It's so important that adaptation, keeping stay true to the original story, mainly when we talked about big differences, because sometimes are made big difference just to encurse the time of duration. And this is so bad because we read or we saw something, and at the movie or at the game this is changed, and I don't know, the feeling that I have is frustration. So it's really really bad. But for me, I know that is there is some changes that are necessary. I watched the beginning of The Last of Us series, and there was made some changes that was necessary, because in the game some things didn't make sense. And when something don't make sense, when we talked about physics, how science works, and for example, when the series or the original story passed by historical um, historical phases, if it didn't make sense, it's need to be changed. So it is bad with some changes, but for others, it's necessary to make sense. And for you, Vanessa, how do you think about it?
Um, for me, it's very important to maintain the true story, the real story, because when you read a book, you will feel different emotions than other people, and other people will say the different history. And sometimes I read the same book that you, and you have a conclusions different than me. So I think it's very important to maintain the real story because it's very difficult maintain the real story because all people will say different things about the same book. So imagine if you modify the real book and change it for a movie. Will be a catastrophe for all the people that like this book, and for me, it's very important.
I agree with you. Thank you. And for you, Juliano?
Um, I think it's important. Uh, the sense about the original content needs to be there, you know. But it's important do a little changes because in some cases it makes sense, you know. For example, One Piece now we have a live action. I think the essence to be there, but the people change a lot of things, but it's important change to do things, you know, and to I don't know, other peoples can go watch, you know, this kind of content, kind of series, you know. So it he needs to one way to I don't know, agradar the fan base and call other peoples that don't know the content, the story, you know. So I think it's hard. I think the essence needs to be there, but it's sometimes it's necessary to do some changes for do it make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes is really necessary. Thank you. Um, our time